let's get into the defensive discussion here for Nebraska, because this is going to be a real test. Will this? I mean, this will be the real. I mean, Minnesota wanted to run the ball, but Michigan wants to really run the ball, and they're going to be stubborn about it.
Yeah, this is a lot better than Minnesota.
And they see those stats that Nebraska has, and they want to stick it to Nebraska.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're right. This is better than Minnesota. There's no doubt about that.
Not even debatable.
Again, the numbers aren't where we covered that. We don't have to go into it again. But you're right. They'll come in with the mindset of they're going to see a lot of Blake Corum. They'll probably see a lot. Nebraska will see a lot of Blake Corum. They'll probably see some Donovan Edwards. And McCarthy's scary as a runner. He's scary as a runner. So yeah, this is but I like Nebraska against the run. I mean, I haven't seen anything that to me would suggest that they're in trouble here. Reimer's injury, we got to watch Luke Reimer. We don't know his status.
Evidently, it might be a concussion protocol.
Oh, really? You heard that?
Well, his pads were the way he took his pads off and things. I mean,
that
was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah,
the way he was on the sideline. So,
so
those are always tricky.
Yeah,
because you never know. So obviously, having a guy like that who could be one of the top 3 tacklers in program history in a game like this would be significant. But either way, I agree with you, Sip. Like, I know that Michigan is going to come and try to establish physicality from the jump, but Nebraska's defense has handled that pretty well. They've been the aggressors in almost every game they've played defensively, especially in that front 7. And what's really helped them is the amount they've been able to rotate when they've got those hockey lines coming in. Yeah. Every player that you ask about that says that Blaise Gunnarsson on Tuesday was talking about how he feels so fresh in games that by the fourth quarter, he feels just as full of energy as he does on play 1. So like that, I think, is a big part of this, to where in previous years you had your top end guys and nobody else. Now you have lines that you can move in, and that's going to keep guys fresh, to where the way Michigan plays is just the way Nebraska wants to play, where they dominate the fourth quarter. Well, that's going to be a lot harder against a defense that plays that many guys who are all effective.
Now you remember last year, guys, Michigan shoved Nebraska around. They did. Now, it's a different crew, though, now. Nebraska has a different crew of guys. They have a Hutmacher who's playing much better, much better. Now you've added Cameron Lenhart, and Cameron Lenhart's healthy. We should mention that. Tony White slid that in to the conversation Tuesday. The defensive coordinator said, Lenhart's fine. Ooh, that's big.
Well, it was a different game last year. It was cold. It was late November. I mean,
the season was basically over for
we were staying out by the Detroit airport. It was just a rougher, more rugged day, where this is going to be a beautiful day Saturday.
It's going to be hot.
And Michigan was better up front.
I mean, Michigan was better up front, built for that day. They were built to play on a snowy, ugly November game.
But the thing in my mind that stands out, and I went back and read the column, was Nebraska getting shoved back 5, 6, 7 yards fairly regularly late in the game. And Bush, Bill Bush was a defensive coordinator. He'd fully back that. They just got shoved around at the line of scrimmage. I don't see that happening this year, in part because Nebraska's better, but in part because Michigan's not as good up front. They haven't been as good. They missed. I'm telling you, they missed that center a lot. He's making, he made all the calls. He got a lot done in the middle, and they don't have that.
He was the Remington and the Outland winner.
Hello.
He stayed in Nebraska for a full week for both awards days.
Hello. Now that's a big loss. So, but I don't anticipate Nebraska getting shoved around like that. I don't think they will. And they bring in guys. Now Reimer is a huge injury, but guys, they have guys there. I mean, Bullock played 48 snaps last week, played well. Javin Wright has really become a major factor. And then Nick Henrich is playing well.
Bayer.
And Mekhi Gabeir. I mean, those guys are all good players. Did I say it right?
G silent.
G silent.
Let's just keep the streak of simple names going here.
Mekhi Bayer.
Bayer.
Okay.
Like the aspirin.
Yeah. Like I need.
He inflicts so much pain in you. You need a Bayer after you run into Mekhi.
All right, that shirt's really got you going, Sean. But yeah, it's hey, listen, we're talking about their front 7 or front 7 or front 6, and I still believe the strength of the units in the back end. Yeah, Omar Brown and Singleton are really good safeties now,
and they're men,
and they're both good in run support. That's another thing that helps.
I mean, Hartstug's like the only young guy in the secondary. Everyone else is like a older 4th, 5th, 6th-year
bunch
player.
of old heads. They are.
One thing to keep in mind too, when you talk about how important it is for Nebraska to stop the run, is they better be careful because Michigan's going to beat you, and they're going to hit you over the top with a deep pass. If you look at the way that they've thrown the ball, I'm just looking at our behind enemy lines breakdown, and JJ McCarthy went on throws of 20 yards or more is thrown for 236 yards and 4 touchdowns.
How often is that the tight end?
Doesn't say that, but almost 26% of his passing yards are on deep shots.
Yeah, they go.
And you know who he's going to? Roman Wilson.
He's
got 15 catches and 6 touchdowns, averaging almost 18 yards a catch.
Roman Wilson.
So that's what you got to. You can be aggressive and play the run and get those safeties creeping up, but when they do the play action, especially with a quarterback that's athletic enough to buy time and extend plays,
pass it.
You got to be careful.
Oh, well, yeah. And the tight end is a huge factor. Their tight ends.
If the defense plays well in this game, guys, the crowd could be a real factor too.
Yeah.
And this team Michigan has not faced crowd.
No.
Like this defense needs to make Memorial Stadium a factor like it was. I mean, you go back to that night game in 2021 when Michigan came here. That was one of the most electric stages.
It was incredible.
And
that night was incredible. Just say what it was. It was what I always say about it is if you were just a guy tuning in from Albuquerque and you were watching that game, you would never guess that Nebraska's a struggling program.
They were a 3-9 team.
Yeah, 3-9 team. You would never guess that their coach was on the hot seat. The stadium was incredible. They're trading blows with Michigan, and somebody would have to say to the guy, "Hey, honey, I mean, that Nebraska program's really struggling."
And then the light show.
You'd be like, "What?"
Remember the light show
Really?
when both teams came out to midfield? It was like a boxing match almost.
It was incredible.
All right. Well,
one of the most memorable games I've ever.
We hope
seen.
we can get a game like that here Saturday.
Oh,